Hi, this is Matt Marsden, and I did my service learning at the Emergency Food Pantry in North Fargo. This organization is a food distribution program whose mission is to provide families and individuals facing emergency situations with a week's supply of healthy food. They do this because their goal is to help the people of Cass and Clay County in times of crisis, unemployment, and other difficult situations. The organization is mainly run by volunteers who package and provide food to people in need. During my time at the Emergency Food Pantry, my role as a volunteer was to help shop for the families and individuals. They would come in and fill out a checklist for the groceries they wanted. I would then take that checklist and fill up a cart with non-perishable items based on the number of people they had in their family. Once I completed that, I would go and greet the customer and bring them with me to shop for the perishable groceries. This is when I would converse with them and try to learn as much as I could about them in our limited time together. Once we finished and their carts were full, I would say goodbye and grab the next grocery checklist. The individuals and families were from all kinds of backgrounds. They were different genders, races, ethnicities, and ages. Some were very talkative and some couldn't barely speak English. I believe that this experience was a great way to interact with people from all kinds of cultures. Many themes from our class showed up during my time volunteering, but I'm going to focus on 5 of them that stuck out to me. The first course theme that I encountered during my volunteering was nonverbal communication. This is defined in our textbook as all the ways that we communicate without the use of words. While volunteering, I encountered a handful of people who did not know English, so to communicate, we relied on nonverbal communication. I would communicate with these people using different gestures, such as pointing and nodding to different foods when asking, and they would nod back either with approval or disapproval, and this is how we would communicate with each other. Another way I utilized the concept of nonverbal communication was through the use of haptics. Haptics is a study of touch. After I finished helping the customers, if they seemed like they were in a good mood, I would shake their hand and say goodbye. Even though many didn't understand English very well, they knew that the handshake was a form of communication. In this case, it meant saying goodbye. I learned how useful this nonverbal communication can be when interacting with people that might have language barriers or that are from different cultures, and I plan on using that knowledge in my future intercultural encounters, whether it be meeting new friends, helping customers at work, or any other situation. I believe verbal communication is very important, but I think that in many cases nonverbal communication is even more important and effective. The next theme I noticed right away was that many of the people who were coming in were living in poverty. Poverty is defined by our textbook as the extent to which an individual is without resources. The two types of poverty highlighted in the book were generational poverty and situational poverty. In my time volunteering, I believe that I saw both cases. Generational poverty is defined as poverty that lasts 2 or more generations. Some of the families that came in had at least 3 generations of people. For example, one specific family I remember consisted of a grandma, a mom, and a daughter. They explained to me that they had been living in poverty for as long as they could remember. The other type of poverty is called situational poverty, and that is defined as poverty that involves a shorter amount of time than generational, and is usually caused by unexpected circumstances. One example of this that sticks out to me was a lady who explained to me that she showed up to work one day and was told that she didn't have a job anymore, and that relying on a food shelter was all new to her. I think both these cases are examples of both types of poverty discussed in our class. One thing I learned from this was that I need to appreciate what I have more. Just like the lady who lost her job, I too one day could fall on hard times unexpectedly and need a helping hand. The next theme that was at the center of my volunteering experience was dialogue. Dialogue is defined as a conversation between 2 or more people. When I shopped with customers for the perishable items, I would speak to them and ask them questions. They would respond and we would start a dialogue with each other. Some of the customers were very quiet and only responded to my questions of their food preferences, while others told me their life story. One man told me about how he injured his back because he was sleepwalking and he fell down the stairs. Another woman told me about how her daughter would be so excited to get ice cream instead of waffles for one of their frozen food options. Whether they spoke a little or a lot, most of the encounters I had opened up a dialogue between us. This experience has helped me gain skills when it comes to speaking with the people of different cultures, as well as listening to them. Speaking and listening are vital when it comes to maintaining a conversation, and this experience has really helped me get a lot of exposure with that. Emotion is the fourth theme that I experienced a lot. Emotion is a physiological and affective reaction to some circumstance or event that compels a person to interpret a meaning for it. Every person who came into the pantry had different emotions. When I went to tell customers that I was ready to help them, shop for the refrigerated and frozen items, I got many different responses. Some smiled, some stared blankly. When they saw the groceries I had put in their cart before grabbing them to help, some were ecstatic and thanked me over and over, while others looked and didn't say a word. Some people showed lots of emotion, while others did not. I always did my best to show emotion and to show them that I was happy to help. Some people told me stories about their lives that were heartbreaking, and I felt emotions of sadness and sympathy. Others told me about their kids and how they were doing, which resulted in the emotions of interest and joy. Emotion played a big part in my time volunteering. The last thing that stuck out to me was the idea of ethics. The textbook defines ethics as a general term for the discussion, determination, and deliberation of processes to identify what is right and wrong, others should and should not do, and what is considered appropriate in our lives. The idea was displayed a handful of times when I was volunteering, but one of those times stuck out to me. A gentleman was coming from a family of six and was picking out his choice of produce. Customers are allowed to fill up one plastic bag of produce to take with them. He had put 6 oranges into his cart and realized that there was only one orange left on the shelf. He then proceeded to grab 3 of the oranges from his bag and put them back onto the shelf. He said, I don't want to take all of them because I know other people enjoy them and I want there to be enough for them. This shocked me because even though this man and his family were struggling, he thought about others before himself and his family. It stood out to me that he had really good ethics. Even when he could have taken all the oranges left, he decided not to because he realized other people are in need too. So a couple things that I learned was that patience is very important when dealing with people from different cultures. Another thing I learned is that you should always go into things with a good attitude. It can make a huge difference. And the last thing I learned was that Fargo does have a lot of diversity.